Yay! We are going live today, Tuesday, Election Day. Really excited to chat this morning with Carolyn, the owner of Bayonne Yoga in New Jersey. They've been a partner with New York Yoga Life for a couple of issues now, actually, now that I think about it. And we can't wait to chat with her about her journey, owning a studio during a pandemic. Owning a yoga studio in general is challenging. Owning a yoga studio during a pandemic is super challenging. So there she is. So let's see if we can make the buttons work. All right. Magic of technology. Let's see if it does its thing. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Every time I start these, when the buttons work and the internet and the phone isn't falling, I'm relieved.
Good morning. It's a good morning for an interview, right, today.
How are you?
Thankfully, I am well. Thank you so much for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to do these chats. It's, ever since lockdown, it's been nice to learn all these new tools. I'll be honest, I didn't know if they existed before the pandemic, IG Lives and all this. I have no idea. But after, using them and getting to meet everyone, it's been so great. I love this opportunity to have. And so I wanted to just, introduce you to people that are tuning in. We just like to get to know our partners a little bit better.
Awesome.
And your story is so interesting because you still have your brick and mortar.
Yes.
And I know there was a lot of sort of shifting tides that happened. So I just wanted to, tell people, share your story. What was that like owning and still running a studio during the pandemic?
Well, first, thank you for offering me the opportunity to share this. And secondly, I think I joined from my Sarcastic Yogi page, by the way. I didn't check well, but the page is Bayonne Yoga. You can post it, whatnot. Okay, so first of all, I opened the studio up in August of 2019. Okay, I was only open for 6 months.
It felt longer to me for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like we've known you forever, but yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I opened up in August and we had to close down like everyone else in March.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, a real slap in the face.
Yeah.
Everything that I thought to be real changed instantly.
Yeah.
That very same day that we went into shutting everything down, I lost all the teachers. All my teachers it was like gone. One of them got sick. He got COVID. I didn't know about it, but this was what was happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And other teachers that I had here, I think, really panicked and just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And so here I am, brand new studio owner of 6 months, left to manage, run, and hopefully keep the studio going.
Yeah.
I am grateful that I do have another business. We have a juice bar called Squeezed NJ on Instagram. So that business was still open. My husband was manning that station as I went in. I do have some autoimmune issues. I have, RA, thyroid stuff. So for me, I had to go home and just lock myself in the house and start teaching online, which I had no idea how to do.
Yeah.
2 weeks before the shutdown, that's when I started to prepare for it.
Yeah.
So I went and I got Zoom.
Right.
I started looking on YouTube, seeing how other teachers were doing this, what microphone.
Right.
So, it was a scramble. It was a scramble to try to figure out, how do I do this? And I was doing it alone, which for me was really tough.
Wow.
Really tough.
Yeah.
I had no yoga teacher mentors. The mentor that I did have, I thought I had disappeared. So it was just a lot of that. And really trying to figure out, okay, this is what's presented. Yeah. This is what it is. What are you going to do? Are you going to close up and just walk away from this? Or are you going to do what you know to do, which is try your absolute best to continue to teach, especially throughout these times. Those times are really, really stressful, intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting too, because I'm very biased, but I always do feel that yoga studio owners are a very special kind of person, because people don't get into it to make a ton of money.
Yep.
They really, really love what they do. So there's a unique passion that comes with someone that owns a studio and runs a studio, where it's just like, I've talked to a lot of owners in the last couple of weeks, and it's just like there was a tenacity and a just like, I won't give up,
Right.
and it's amazing. And it really kind of kicked in for just about everybody. It was like a survival instinct.
Absolutely. It was definitely survival from day one. Even now, I'm noticing that I'm still functioning on a survival level with this.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at it with the eyes of, but this can happen, so let me prepare.
Yeah.
Where before, when I came into this, I've never owned a yoga studio. I had to do I'm an entrepreneur. I love creating and doing things and sharing with people.
Yeah.
And yoga has done so amazing for me that I was really focused on sharing the benefits.
Yeah.
But then, the pandemic hit, we closed up, and it really was a matter of, how am I going to survive through this? Not, so much my life, because I really was taking a lot of precautions, but how is the business of yoga going to survive through this? What is it going to look like afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we were online. So everybody was comfortable. They're in their own space. I was comfortable teaching from my home, and I used to teach from the studio as well, to remind them we're still here, even though we're online, but we're still here.
Yeah.
But then the thought process became, okay, so now how do I go back in now? Because now we have to do all of these precautions. Are people going to want to come back?
Yeah.
That was the big question. Are people going to want to come back and share a space?
Yeah.
And when we reopened, it started slowly, it trickled, and then it was the members were coming back. Unfortunately, throughout the pandemic, the studio suffered some losses. We had one member whose husband passed away from COVID, and then we had another member whose father passed, and then we had a member pass.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So I felt like I was getting hit with huge stones, one after another. It was almost a sinking feeling. It was almost as though, you know what, let me just let this go. Let me let this go for now. And I have to say, before I forget, I have one of the most amazing landlords. I know that this was an issue for a lot of studio owners. I have an amazing landlord who truly believes in what's happening in this studio in Bayonne, New Jersey, and supports it 110%. Like, he wants me to stay here, and he wants us to continue sharing yoga in Bayonne. So for me, that was a really big one.
That can make or break a business. I mean, I know at one point you thought you were going to lose the studio, and then you came back, and then there was there's so much uncertainty lately. And I know that you especially, and I remember watching, and we were chatting a little bit via email, the journey that your studio went through. It was like a roller coaster. We're open, we're going to close, but we're going to reopen, and now you're reopened. So I was so thankful. I was like, she made it,
Yeah, I remember that day. We went away for a little bit. We needed to unplug. At that point, we just really needed to just unplug and give ourselves a chance. My husband worked our juice bar by himself for 4 months, by himself. So we needed that break. And during that break, we were talking. We were like, all right, so now when we get back, this is plan A, B, and C. And when I came back to not so good news from my accountant, and she was like, listen, I don't think, this is going to be good for you. And I asked her, well, how much time do I have? She looked at a watch. She was like, maybe about a week ago. Oh my God. And at that point, I lost it. I cried. It was all these emotions.
Yeah.
And, I sat there, and with a broken heart, I said, all right, then this is it then. I'll stop. So I sent out emails and, made the announcement. And then, speaking with the landlord, he was like, listen, do what you got to do. Do what you can.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. And that for me was like resuscitation.
Yeah.
He breathed that air into me. And from that moment on, I decided no matter what happens, I'm not going to think negatively, and I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up on the studio. I'm not going to give up on myself. But more importantly, which for me is really the most important piece, I refuse to give up on the people in Bayonne, New Jersey.
That's
I refuse.
amazing.
I know everyone needs a space to feel safe in, to feel at home, not be judged, not walk in and feel like I'm not going to be able to do this without giving it a chance. We all know all the stigmas that there are out there when it comes to yoga, right?
Yeah.
Even me, see these beautiful IG images, back bends and Scorpios. Wow, I would love to do that. But you know, I've learned through time, and I'm sharing with the students that come here and anyone who's willing to listen to me, yoga is really not about the look of the pose. Yoga is about how do you feel in your own body. What are the conversations you're having with yourself, especially now after COVID? What are these conversations about? And which conversations can we release a little bit? And which conversations should we pick up on more?
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the focuses of the studio, is to provide a safe, non-judgmental space where you can come, and if all you want to do is sit in Shavasana, lay in Shavasana for 60 minutes, you're more than welcome to do that, because the body also needs to rest.
Yeah.
And resting is also part of yoga.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that your studio also offers a lot of, you had a plant workshop, or something with plants you were doing over the summer.
Yes, potting
And you
and
do belly
potting and
dance?
meditation. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I did that with another small business. This is a young woman who I absolutely adore. You guys should follow her. Her name is Ava and Avery. So she sells plants in the area, and she does all these little hookups with different businesses. So she came here, literally turned the studio space into the most beautiful greenery ever. It was beautiful. So there'll definitely be more of that. We have a yoga retreat coming up in March to Light on the Hill Yoga Retreat Center, a meditation center in upstate New York. We have our first satsang November 14th. We're finally coming together. We're going to chant. We're going to play the harmonium, play some drums and tambourines, and just celebrate that we're here. Just that we're here and we're together.
Made it.
Yeah, right?
I do. I definitely feel like there's a lot of survival modes. We're still in a little bit of survival mode. You know, I keep, when you think about the future of yoga and yoga studios, I don't know, you know, and I don't know that anyone knows at this point. I think there was a time in the summer where we were like, okay, we're getting out of this, you know, everything's kind of, and then it shifted again. And so now it's interesting to see sort of what will happen, you know. What is your, I mean, are you guys still offering online classes, Zoom classes, or are you just doing in-studio things right now?
I'm offering online classes, and that will stay as part of the business model. That's another thing that the pandemic taught me, was that there are other ways of teaching yoga, not just inside of a studio. And it also offers people who are not quite ready to be in a room full of people still the opportunity to connect with the home studio, connect with the teacher, and still maintain a practice. So the online teaching stays. And then we also offer yoga in the park, things of that nature. We teach around in the different residential buildings in the area. So, you know, there's different ways of reaching people. And the pandemic has taught me how to do that and not be afraid of it, and not to be afraid to think outside of the box. Even though I have the space, I teach a lot outside of the space. And that helps because it brings people back in.
And I love that. I love that now, you know, I had a limited sort of definition of where I could do yoga. To me, I always did yoga in a studio before the pandemic. It was like, oh, I feel like I'm going to a studio. It never occurred to me to do it in my living room. You know, it was just something, it was just a habit. It was something I had always done. And ever since the pandemic, I was like, my definition of where I do yoga has just gotten so big. And I love that. You know, I love that now. In my mind, yoga was always, it could be anything. It could be walking, but it was always in a studio. You know, it was like to do a practice, it was in the studio. So I love that now, you know, we're in parks and we're in these different places and we're exploring all these different areas, and our definition has expanded, you know.
You know, I feel like I feel like things are kind of going back in a way that, or maybe that they should. Because when we think about how yoga arrived here, for example, I was trained at the Shivananda Yoga ashram in California. And, you know, Swami Shivananda sent Vishnu Devananda to this side of the world. And he was teaching in hotel rooms. He was teaching on a beach. He was teaching on a plank. You know, yoga, honestly, I've realized it, that yoga can be practiced anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you have maybe about 6 feet worth of space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where you could open up wide enough to come into a triangle pose or a forward fold. You can practice yoga anywhere. And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's not so much, and I think that that mindset should change as well. In my most humble opinion, I think we have to kind of start stepping away from that ideal that yoga can only happen in the studio.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to have the studio setting. It creates the ambiance. You also have that energy in the studio. However, you can create all of that outside as well.
Yeah.
Because when you come to think about the practice of yoga, it's in here.
Yeah.
And it's in here. And these two things go wherever we go.
I love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I appreciate that.
I do. And there's so many things, you know, as challenging, and it hasn't, like you said, it's just, we have these new opportunities for growth, you know, and when I hear the stories of how people sort of navigated through those darkest times, was there like a meditation or a mantra or something? What was the thing that you always came back to when you felt like you needed that grounding again? Like, how did you bring yourself back in?
All right, so there's this mantra that I choose to use, of this affirmation that I've been using ever since it started, just to remind myself where I am and where I'm coming from and where I want to go. And it's, I am surrounded by love. I am surrounded by love, because everything, one of my goals, and this is every day, this is my personal life. I don't just throw on a yoga teacher outfit and show up and like, I'm a yogi. I don't do that. Like, I try to live this life as best as I can. And I know that for me, when I'm able to sit down and focus and understand and remind myself, where am I coming from? Am I coming from a place of love? Things seem to be a lot smoother after that. Yeah. So long as I remind myself, I am surrounded by love. Yeah. I am surrounded by love, because I love myself. I've grown to truly, truly love myself in a way that I never have via the vehicle of yoga. Yeah. So that is my mantra. Even in the hardest times, or when I'm confused, I'm just tired, exhausted, I am surrounded by love. That will always remind me to come back home. It will always remind me to stay true to what is real for me. Yeah.
I love that. And it's so necessary. And you're right. Once you make those decisions from a place of quiet and calm, and what is, you know, how do you get that more love in your life? How do you get to situations and environments, and everything is just much easier, you know, even if the situation is challenging, it just helps you navigate through that situation. And I love that, you know, and our tools have been so tested, right? Like,
I was just about to say, I mean, you know, everything, and we're still being tested.
Yeah.
Just with the, you know, everything, not just COVID, the pandemic, the shutdown, the you know, recouping from it, our political climate.
Yeah.
Right? Our social climate.
Yeah.
Everything. COVID-19 has changed everything the way we knew it. And I have to constantly remind myself that things will never go back to the way they were. And I'm really happy that they won't.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy that we are being forced to find new ways of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? You know that saying you ever heard, doing the same thing the same ways will only get to the same result, right? And that's called insanity. When you do the same thing the same way and expecting the same results, that's insanity.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like it's a blessing in disguise for a lot of folks that we're being forced to look at things that perhaps we didn't want to look at, strengthen any business skills or anything of that nature that maybe we have a weakness in, right? And explore new ways of doing new things, new ways of teaching, new ways of marketing, new ways of talking about what we do, new ways of presenting what we do, right? So, you know, for me, that meant we went into lockdown. I took a training. I did a harmonium training because I love bhakti yoga. I love singing. So I took a training, and then I kept going with my trainings. And the more I did this, the more I felt more secure, more grounded in what I was doing. You know, I didn't have a mentor. I had a mentor who didn't know he was my mentor. And I watched his channel every day. I joined part of the live classes that I was able to see, and just grounding myself in knowing that I did this for a reason.
Yeah.
There was a reason why I did this, and there's a reason why I'm still doing it. Right.
When you decided to open the studio, not even 2 years ago now, right? What did you do before? What was your previous lifestyle? Did you run the juice bar with your husband?
Yeah.
Okay.
I ran the juice bar, yeah. I ran and I managed and I worked at the juice bar. We started the juice bar in 2015 in Jersey City, and then we moved it to Bayonne, New Jersey. Yeah. And that's what I was doing. And then, you know, I kept practicing my yoga, and I decided, you know, I want to learn more. I want to deepen this for myself. Went to training. And in training, they ask the trainees before we leave if we had an idea of what we were going to do once we left. I knew it immediatally that I was going to open up a studio.
Amazing. Yeah.
So that's what I said. I'm opening up a studio. And bring Shivananda Yoga to New Jersey. I still haven't found another studio in New Jersey that teaches Shivananda Yoga, which is a beautiful practice. So it's, you know, for me, I'm taking a few steps here, and I feel like I'm hoping to open doors for other people, especially Shivananda Yoga teachers, to find places in New Jersey to bring that practice to, because it's such a beautiful practice.
I love it. Oh my God. Thank you so much. This has been such a beautiful chat this morning. And thank you for, you know, just inspiring us, because it's been challenging for, like you said, for everyone. And this pandemic has been, you know, it's been humbling, I think, to a large extent. And so, you know, we need studios like yours and business leaders and people in the community. So thank you for, you know, it hasn't been easy, and getting through it and keeping the studio and the doors open so that your community can join and heal. Hopefully, you know, I think we're still in a process of healing our, you know, our entire being from this whole thing. So, you know, thank you.
You know, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and for all those other studio owners out there, I thank you. A lot of you guys, I follow you, and I've been watching you, and you have inspired me to continue my work, and I appreciate all the work that you guys do, and you guys over there at NY Yoga Life. Thank you so much. You guys shared my post. You know, and I saw each and every time you guys did that. So I want you to know that I was watching, I was paying attention, and I did truly feel your support. I want you guys to know that. And that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot.
You have a lot of cheerleaders, so keep going.
Good, great. Thank you so much.
So if you haven't visited Bayonne Yoga, check it out. You know, what's your next, you have a retreat coming up, you said. You have some trainings coming up. People can find you on Instagram. Yeah, well, you can find us on Instagram at BAYOHM Yoga. I don't know what account I signed in on this morning. I was running. But you can find us at Bayonne Yoga on Instagram and on Facebook. What we have coming up is this month we have a free community satsang, which is on November 14th. We also offer $5 Friday classes, $10 Tuesday classes, and free community classes on the weekends. You can look up on the schedule. And in March of 2022, we have finally our first retreat right up the hill. Yes, meditation center. It's going to be from March 24th through the 27th, and it includes everything. So you can go onto the website, check it out, see all the information, and anyone can ask me questions. I'm a one-woman show pretty much.
I have two amazing yoga teachers that pop in to help me out here, but this is pretty much a one-woman show. So if you DM, email, I'm the person that you'll be speaking to.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you so much. And everyone,
Thank
check
you.
out this beautiful space and their offerings online. And I'll share this conversation on our Instagram page, and I'll send you the link as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day,
Have a
guys.
beautiful day. Thank you.